online. Might take a second. Yeah. All right. I am online. And we are going to turn off sound so I don't echo. Pop this out. And let's figure out how to do the chat situation. That should be good enough, unless I can pop it out. Yes, I can. Okay. Hello all. Not sure who's here or not, but that's okay. I'm going to get started anyway, and this will be recorded. So folks can see how we do releases even on a recording if they want. Let me just minimize OBS real quick. Make this a little bit bigger. Eventually I'll become a pro streamer and I can put this stream chat like on another screen or something. But for now, it is what it is, and I am cool with it. So I'm just going to put all my windows in the right place, and we're going to go from there. So I think this one will be a short-ish one. We're basically going to do a patch release for Athens today. And yes, we're going to do it on a Friday, because that's how I roll. I am a little bit paranoid, so let me just go back to my dashboard here. I want to just make sure things are still streaming along okay. Looks like they are. Okay, cool. So we have a new section in the development.md file. This isn't on the docs page. It's not on like docs.gomods.io. If you go to the repo, just GitHub gomods Athens, we do have a README. There's a bunch of stuff in here that's just general intro. We have it just kind of because people don't necessarily always go to docs.gomods.io. People mostly go to the GitHub repo and they see, the README. So we've got a blurb and we've got just sort of, what the project is and some details and blah, blah, blah. We've got a link to the development.md file. So clicking through there, this is how you get the proxy up and running to test and blah, blah, blah. There's all these different options on how to set it up for development. Obviously, it needs external services and going on and on and on. At the very end, we have a section called People Doing a Release. I wrote this up fairly recently. That is just kind of notes on how we generally do releases. A lot of it is automated, but before we had this document, there were kind of just some people around, groups of maintainers and so on, that just had tribal knowledge on how to do releases. And what I mean by that is there were a bunch of people who just knew how to do it. And other people, including myself, couldn't really come in and just pick it up. Because I hadn't done a release for probably 9 months to a year before the last release. So I really wanted to get up a document that's just generally how we are doing things when we decide to release a new Athens. So going into the releases tab on GitHub, the last one we released was 10 days ago, version 0.8. Twexler, Ted Wexler, is one of the core maintainers. He called it Quarantini Edition, appropriately, at least for the US, parts of the US. And he actually, this was his first release as well. So I kind of sat along with him and tried to bumble through stuff along with him. And I thought he did a great job. And that's kind of what prompted all these docs. We kind of learned together what was missing from the collective knowledge. And then I basically took notes and then just jotted this stuff down after the release was over. So the basic idea is we do a code freeze, and I'll get to what that is, what that means for us today. After the code freeze, we do a release branch. We've got some notes on the format of the release branch and the tag name and so on. Basically, the format is semantic versions. Create that release branch, and then we create a new release in GitHub, and that in turn creates a git tag. And this is the action that triggers our CI to go and like run all the tests and do all the release stuff and create the Docker image and so on. And then at the end, we basically need to send a tweet that tells everyone we've got a new release. And we've got the Helm chart that doesn't currently automatically update. We haven't set that up yet. So we have to update it and then submit two PRs. We have to submit a PR to the master branch and a PR to our new release branch. So today, the only thing that we're going to do different from other days, from other releases, is the code freeze. We are not going to do a code freeze, and that is because we're going to release 0.8.1, and this is a patch release, and we're actually going to do some more tribal knowledge here that is not really written down. So this is going to be another thing that I'm going to go and write down. And this tribal knowledge is, how is a patch release different from a real release, meaning like a v0.9 release or something. The patch release is going to be basically, we are going to take one commit. It's going to be this commit. And we're just going to cherry pick it back into our new release branch. So we're actually going to go through this and do it. And you'll see me hopefully not make too many mistakes, but hopefully we'll get the job done today too. So this patch release is going to basically do a fix to our configuration. Last release, going back to here, we added, one of the features we added was to add support for Redis Sentinel as one of our backend components. So before, you could use just plain old single node Redis to do some, it doesn't really matter what it does in this stream, but the basic idea was Athens would use Redis to coordinate multiple different Athens instances so that they don't all download the same module at once. And that was good for single node Redis, but Redis has a technology called Redis Sentinel. And Redis Sentinel will manage multiple different Redis instances in a kind of a pool in the background. So Athens can basically hit one endpoint, and this Redis Sentinel system, and by the way, this is not an Athens feature, it's a Redis feature. But Athens can basically talk to a single endpoint, and this Redis Sentinel system will do all the failover and make it basically a more reliable Redis instance that is behind the scenes running a bunch of different Redis instances. So what happened was we had some config that was wrong. The config here in our config.dev.toml file, and this file is the file that gets automatically bundled up with Athens. So if you don't override it, the config gets written and read from Athens. And our Athens code was trying to read the password for single flight Redis under this config directive. So that would be literally in the config struct in our config code. It was expecting the password to be here. But in the config.dev.toml, we had put it here under singleflight.redis sentinel. So we had to move it back to Redis, the Athens Redis password, and we did that. But it is obviously not bundled into the v0.8.0 commit. Sorry, the v0.8.0 release. I'm getting all of my terms mixed up in my head because it's Friday. So we've got to do a patch release to make this config change. And in turn, when we make this config change and we do our new release branch and then our GitHub release, that is going to create a new Docker image called gomod/Athens v0.8.1. And once it does that, then we're going to have a new Athens that's going to have the new config.dev.toml bundled up inside of that Docker container. And then in our release notes and our tweeting about the new release, we're basically going to tell people, if you're using Redis Sentinel, please upgrade to the v0.8.1 Docker image. But I feel decent because I'm not sure that a lot of people are using Redis Sentinel at this point, because you can see we introduced Redis Sentinel. Where's the releases page? We introduced it 10 days ago, so we don't really keep stats on anything that people do with Athens because it's their own install. So we don't know for sure who is or is not using Redis Sentinel. But I'm just guessing that since it's a new version of Athens, probably not a lot of people are using it. And since not a lot of people, actually no one has brought this bug to our attention, that no one has gotten too deep into using Redis Sentinel to find it. And there are a bunch of different possible reasons why they might not have basically yelled at us yet. But in other words, we want to do this so that we have a correct version of Athens out there, but we don't think it's caused a lot of damage. So at least there's that. So we are going to go in and do almost the exact same thing, but we're not going to do a code freeze because we already know that v0.8.0 is stable. So we're basically going to take that and bring just this commit in. We're going to do that by doing a git cherry pick, which is something that I have not done in at least 2 years. So this should be fun. Not even being sarcastic. I think I'm really actually excited to do this. So we're going to go into Athens. I'm going to make sure we have everything fetched from my fork in origin and my upstream, which is the real gomod/Athens. And what we're going to do here is we are going to create a release branch off of the old release branch, v0.8.0. And that's instead of creating off of master. And by the way, just as an interlude, I wanted to mention this at the beginning, but I forgot. I'm really excited about this, not just because we're doing the release, but also this is my first stream and actually my first full week of using Windows 10, and doing this all on WSL2, which is like the VM that Windows ships with right now, at least like the Windows insiders. And it runs real Debian or Ubuntu or whatever. So I'm using Debian right now. So like I have like a real Linux account. And I can do like a sudo apt update and all the other Debian-y things, or if you use Ubuntu, it's, you know, a familiar thing. So it's like real Linux. And like the reason I went over to Windows is because now I get real Linux in a VM, a terminal as well. And it's a fast VM. So it's definitely faster and more performant than at least running like VirtualBox on a Mac and running Debian on that. So I've been using this. It's been pretty rad. And I can still use like VS Code and all that stuff too. I'm really liking this. So I'm really excited to show that off too, but let's get back to the release because I'm actually excited to try this thing out. So yeah, we're going to create a release-v0.8.1, but we're going to create that release off of the release-v0.8.0 instead of off of master. So let's go do that. We did our git fetch. Make sure I didn't mess that up. Okay, so git checkout -b release.v0.8.1, and all of our release branches are formatted like this. Let me just actually go and double check that format. We're going to go into Athens, go into our master, go into our branch list. And yeah, so this is what they all look like. We're going to branch off of this branch, release-v0.8.0. But all the branches are release-v and then the semver, the semantic version. And by the way, if you're not familiar with semver, you can go to semver.org. It's like a spec. It's kind of dry reading. But the basic idea is you do major version dot minor version dot patch. And it's pretty cut and dry here. It's just 3 sentences on what each thing means. So like even more TLDR summary-ish. The major version is major. It's a big deal. You change it when you break something, backward incompatible. Minor is when you add new functionality, new features. So we did a minor last time because we added like Redis Sentinel, like I mentioned. We added some new docs. So it felt like it was a pretty good time to do a minor version bump. And sometimes like, new functionality in a backward compatible manner, that is sort of up to interpretation. So we interpreted our changes as a minor patch, a minor bump. And then today we're doing a patch version because it's just a bug fix. It's one commit that fixes a bug that we introduced last time. But yeah, if you want to go in here, like you can go on and on and on and even read like grammar, Bacchus Nor grammar, which I don't know. I would have to go back to Wikipedia to figure out what this even means. There's a pretty good blurb here about like why to use it. The FAQ is decent as well. This is not only like a really good system of versioning that I would recommend you check out and even use, but it's also a really good documentation resource. And I love it because it's in all these different languages. So that's pretty cool. So back to the release. We're doing we're creating the branch release-v0.8.1. And we're going to branch off of upstream. And upstream is my real Athens, the GitHub /gomods/Athens. And we're going to do branch off of release-v0.8.0. So we've got that going now. What's next? We created the release branch. We did the right version number. But before we do this, basically right now, we've got the same exact code as is in our tag, or the tag is the same thing as the release branch. It has the same code. It's just that the tag is tagged off of the release branch. So we basically have the exact same code as what is in the v0.8.0 release branch. So we're going to fix that by pulling in this commit. And this is the part that I haven't done in a long time. This is called cherry picking. So I brought up the docs here. It says we're going to apply the changes introduced by some existing commits. So given one or more existing commits, apply the change each one introduces, recording a new commit for each. This requires your working tree to be clean. It's not obvious how to apply the change. The following happens. The current branch and the head pointer stay at the last commit made. There is a new cherry pick head ref set to point at the commit that introduced the change. It's difficult to apply. More stuff happens. So I mean, the basic idea is we're pulling in another commit from the release-v0.8.0 branch, and then we're going to bring it into release-v0.8.0. So I'm going to copy this, and if anyone in the chat sees me doing something wrong, please speak up, because I'm I'm pretty close to not remembering anything about how to actually do cherry picks. So we're going to do a git cherry pick, paste in that commit, and we have brought in move single flight Redis password back under single flight.redis. The author is what I expect. Let me just go back here. The author is what I expect. It's currently March 27th. This is on March 20th. So that's also what I expect 7 days ago. So this looks good. And we are on branch vo.8.1. The branch is ahead of release vo.8.0. So we do not want to push to release vo.8.0. We want to push to a new branch, release -vo.8.1 on upstream. If we did pushing to this, that would be bad because we can't re-release, or we could. We should not re-release that branch. We need to release a new branch. So to push to the new branch, we could do git push -u. Well, we could do this. But what I'm going to do is do the -u because that's going to set the upstream. Can't remember the syntax for this. I think this is the syntax. I might have this wrong. Sometimes when I stream, I forget stuff. So let's see if this works. So the way that I'm reading this, the way that it works is you do a git push. -u means that from now on, the local release -vo.8.1 branch is going to automatically be associated with the remote upstream release -vo.8.1 branch. And that means that later on, when I do a git status, it's going to compare my local commits with the release -vo.8.1 branch. And then later I can also do a git push, and it'll automatically push my local commits up to the o.8.1 branch. So let's do this. I think that might do it. How do I do a git push? I gotta look this up now. Git push to remote. Git push -u, and then I'm going to do upstream and then my local branch. So thank God for Stack Overflow. -u, we want to push to upstream, and then release -vo.8.1. So yeah, I read it right, but I got the syntax wrong. So we're going to push to the upstream, and Git uses Git uses the term upstream for a different purpose that I am writing it, which is super confusing. So I have a remote called upstream, which points to github/gomods/Athens. And I'm telling Git to set the upstream remote as the upstream for this branch. So super confusing, but I'll put it in different words. And these are kind of the same as I just described. The way that I would put this is, from now on, release -vo.8.1 on my machine is going to push to and refer to the release -vo.8.1 on the Athens, github/gomods/Athens. So let's do that. And that's done. So it's saying create a pull request. I do not want to create a pull request. I never want to merge this release -vo.8.1 into master or anywhere. But I am going to go in and make sure it exists. Well, obviously it does, because GitHub is saying please merge it. And we're just going to go in here and we're going to see what's changed. I'm just going to click this button to compare. There are other ways to do this, including on the command line. And that is perfect. That's what I wanted to see. This is between master, so we can actually do this, and we can compare it to vo.8.0. And this is exactly what we wanted to see for vo.8.0. Basically, vo.8.1 is adding the one change that we wanted to add. Excuse me. So that's perfect. Again, I don't want to create a pull request, so we're going to X that out. On to the instructions. We did the release branch. We obviously did not branch off of master because this is a patch. So I'm going to make a mental note to basically change this section to mention to not use master if we're talking about a patch release. So on to the new release in GitHub. So I'm going to, let's see, make sure what it says. Draft a new release. So click there. And tag version should be the same vo.whatever number that I put into the release branch. So vo.8.1. Release title, I'll get to that. Describe the release, I'll get to that as well. This is another thing, mental note that I'm going to make to update these docs. I do not want to tag off of master, because that would mean that vo.8.1 will be forever associated with the current head commit of master. That's not what I want. I want to tag it off of release-vo.8.1, the head of release-o.8.1. Let me reload this page so I can check out that that branch, sorry. So that's going to tag off of this head commit, the exact commit that I wanted to bring in for the patch. So release title, this is where I'm going to get creative. Well, let's see what the other releases look like. How do they title stuff? So they prefix it with the version number, so vo.8.1. Write something creative in the rest of the title. Of course I want to do that. So I'll call it, the last one was Quarantini Edition. I like the Greek theme. The Athens is a Greek city, obviously. So I'm going to call it and for those who don't know, saganaki is one of my favorite, at least my favorite Greek foods. So if you can eat Greek food and you like cheese, saganaki is also known, at least in the US, as flaming cheese. And it's awesome. I don't actually think it's really Greek. I think it's Greek American. Basically, they bring out some fried cheese, they put some alcohol on it, and then they light it on fire. And in some places, they light it on fire right next to your table. Super cool. It tastes great. It's non-alcoholic because the actual alcohol burns off. Amazing. So I'm going to call it Saganaki Edition. Describe the release. Make sure to write what features this release includes, including any notable bug fixes, any folks who contributed. So we can actually do this. And again, mental note. Mental note for me to write docs better. I don't always want to compare against master. For a patch release, I want to compare against I want to compare my current branch against the last tag instead of master. Otherwise, master would go here against the last tag. So with a patch release, I created the new branch for the patch. I want to see what changed between my new patch branch and the last release tag, which is vo.8.0. So again, this is, oops, what did I do here? There we go. Oh, why hasn't anything changed? Maybe I switched these. I always get this wrong. And then, is there really nothing to change? There. I got this wrong. You have to, I should update the docs, but basically you have to compare the release-vo.8.1 branch with the base vo.8.0. So I was doing that wrong. You have to put the new branch on the right of the three dots and the old branch on the left of the three dots. At least that's what works. I might be misunderstanding this and I have to go back and look. But at least for now, I know between release vo.8.0 and vo.8.1, these are the changes I expect to see. So going back here, I'm going to write a little description. So in this release, we fixed a bug that the vo.8.0 release introduced. Looking back to our last release, let's see. Looking back to our last release, we introduced Redis Sentinel, and we got the config wrong in the toml file, and this fixes the config. So but we introduced a bug in the config.dev.toml file. Oh, and by the way, single flight is what we call that coordination. If we're running multiple Athens, it prevents them, two or more of them, from doing duplicate work. We just call it single flight in Athens terminology. In this release, we have fixed that bug. And we fix that bug by cherry picking, whoops, I don't want that. By cherry picking this commit, into the old branch. And let's see what else. I did a little description, thank the folks who contributed to this release. So I'll thank Ted Wexler, and I think this has a pull request associated. Yeah, 1581. And let's see. So when you're done, press publish release. After you do, our drone job will do almost everything. Okay, this is not a pre-release. So it looks like I have everything right. Saganaki edition. Since I'm super paranoid, I'm going to go back and just check one more time. Compare against release vo.8.0. Looks good. And it looks like we are ready. So we're going to do a drum roll, virtual drum roll. I'm going to click the button. So it's up. And now finishing up. First of all, let's go open up our drone job. need to log in. And we go into this job, so tag vo.8.1. And we're just going to watch this go. Really what I'm looking for is this Docker release job. I think they're called jobs in Drone. The Docker release job is the one that's going to publish to Docker Hub for us. So I'm actually going to open up Docker Hub 2, and I'm in the tags tab, and I expect to see a vo.8.1 show up after the drone job is done. So as we wait, I'm going to close some tabs here. As we wait, I wanted to go back and just show off some WSL2 features. So actually, speaking of Docker, I just installed Docker Desktop for Windows. So if I go into settings, it opens up this thing, and you can click enable the experimental WSL2 based engine, which is super cool because it just installs everything for you. You get the Windows UI, and it runs the Docker daemon for you. But then when you go into here, you get a Docker CLI in Debian, and that lets you run Linux containers. So like I'll just pull a super old version of Athens, and it actually pulls it down, pulls the Linux container down, because Athens is built off of Alpine Linux. It pulls it down, and then I could run it if I wanted as well. So it's just like, not only is it easy, but it's just super convenient as well, because I love Linux. I'm a hardcore-ish Linux user, but hey, I like a good UI too, every once in a while. Docker Desktop is a great UI. I don't have to remember tons of commands, even though I unfortunately do. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. And it's just super cool to be able to just get it to install everything in WSL2, and it just works. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, I sound like a salesperson now for WSL2. VS Code. Whoops. Keep hitting the Windows button. VS Code comes with a WSL2 extension. So I have the Windows VS Code here, but if I wanted to open up VS Code from code that's in WSL2, I can hit code. Code has a command line tool. You might be familiar with it from other systems. And sometimes it takes a bit because it has to set up this server inside of WSL2. And the server then will start up, and then this code CLI will start up VS Code. You can see down here, it was loading for a second. And now this thing is the VS Code WSL2 extension connected to my Debian VM. Looks like there's a bunch of Go stuff I need to install. Haven't done that in a while. And it says I need to reload. We're going to just do that. And there it is. Well, you almost caught it. There's more stuff. I'll get to that later. It was just for a second, it said connecting to Debian. And now that it's connected, when I press save in this thing, it'll actually save code over the RPC to the VS Code server inside of WSL, and my code changes will be reflected here. So like I'm just going to add something trivial. When I press save here, it's there. There's my change. So it's another example, like just like Docker Desktop, I get the super cool UI in Windows, but then I also get the fairly seamless WSL2 integration. So I'll do another shameless plug before we get back to this. I just wrote an article on my blog about my setup. So there's a little bit of background. I am actually currently using this UFO computer that I built. which I'm also very excited about. But it also shows like sort of my setup. And then I'm also going to be posting another one next week that goes into more detail. So shameless plug. If you are using Windows or you have access to Windows and you haven't used it in a while, like me, like I was, I definitely encourage you to check out WCell 2 on Windows. It's a real Linux and it's running on a pretty high performance VM. So shameless plug over. Let's go back to the drone job. And you can see I'm focusing in on this last job. Everything else runs pretty much the same as any PR or push to master, even when it's not on a release. But we pushed, where is it? This is after we completed pushing the v0.8.1 tag. So when I reload this, I should see it. Yay, there it is. All right. So we're past the bulk of things here. Let's go back and finish up. So the drone job will do everything except tweet out about the new release, and it will also not update the Helm chart. So let me update the Helm chart first, because I feel like after I'm done with that, we'll sort of have a complete release that I then can tweet about. So let me do that. So I will need to create 2 identical PRs to update the Helm chart. Create one to merge into the master branch and another to merge into the release-0.8.1 branch. So now I'm going to create a brand new branch. I'm going to create it off of master. And I'm just going to update these 2 files. And I'm going to merge them. I'm going to create a PR to merge my new Helm update branch, and I'm going to create one PR to merge it into master and another PR to merge it into my 0.8.1 release branch. Okay, let's do it. So clear my screen, and then we're going to do a git status. And forgive me for using my aliases. I'll try to remember to explain what they are as I go. So GS is, if I do a which, GS is an alias for git status. I have a GCO one, so which GCO, that's an alias to git checkout. You know what? Let me do this in VS Code, my git integration stuff in VS Code. I really like the git integration in VS Code too. So I promise I am not trying to do a sales pitch. On a Mac, I use the GitHub desktop a little bit, and I use the command line a lot. But I'm trying to get more into Windows and VS Code. So I'm basically going to start trying to use as much VS Code and WSL stuff as I can. So I don't want this trivial thing. I'm going to discard it. Going back into here, let me do another git status. And that's all good. My GF is not girlfriend, it's git fetch. I'm going to git fetch everything. That's pretty cool. Good sign that the actual tag was created by the GitHub release. And I'm paranoid, so when you're doing stuff, you please don't feel bad or anything if you're not as paranoid as me. I like to check things like 4 or 5 times. In the carpentry world, they say measure twice, cut once. For me on computers, I like measure 8 times and cut once. So that's me. And I'm going to go and make this a little smaller in case someone wants to say something in chat. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a new branch. So git checkout. I'm just going to call it Helm Update 0.8.1. I'm going to base that branch off of upstream master. And now I can go into VS Code over here. And I'm going to go back to my instructions and update 2 files. So the values file, I need to update the image.tag section. So up here, image.tag, and what do I update that to? The latest version number you created. So that's v0.8.1. Save that. And then the chart.yaml, update the version field and the app version field. Increment the patch number in the version field, and then the app version field should be the GitHub version I just created. So chart.yaml, the version field, update the patch number, app version, make it the, let's see, make it the name, the tag name of the GitHub version you created, including the V. It looks like this was not including the V. And I'm going to leave it as is and just I'll make a mental note to go update these instructions to not have the V. I don't remember if Helm requires you to have or requires you not to have a V or what. Obviously, this chart has been working without the V. So it would just be a matter of me going and testing, hey, is it okay to have the V there or not? But for now, leaving it as is. I am going to do a diff here. I love the diff in VS Code too. Sorry for all the sales pitches. I've got those changes to my chart.yaml. Those look in line with what the instructions say. My values.yaml, that looks right. That looks like the new tag that I saw in Docker Hub. So I'm going to add these both to my stage changes, and I'm going to say updating the Helm chart for release v0.8.1. Commit that. Now, where do I push this to? Oh yeah, by the way, clear CLR is not a GitHub alias. It's the alias for clear. So on some terminals, clear, just typing clear works fine. But on some terminals, you can still scroll up, and I don't like that. So I added this printf. This prints a control character that essentially prohibits scroll up. I'll be honest, I got this from Stack Overflow. It seems to work on all Linux-y terminals that I know of. And that's good enough for me. I haven't actually looked up what this control character does. /e bracket 3j. So if you're interested, go look it up. I may look it up now that I came back to it and I'm interested. But yeah, it works great for me. CLR just works super nice. So anyway, again, I've got this Helm update 0.8.1 branch. It is currently tracking to upstream master. Now, there's no way I ever want to push this update directly to upstream master. And in fact, for me, if I am ever working on an open source project, unless it's like my own and no one else is using it, or like I'm working on it with one other person and it's super early, I almost never want to push to upstream master. In fact, sometimes I set up my Git remotes to have the upstream, like the project, in this case it'd be github/gomod/Athens, to have that one be the HTTPS endpoint, and that will prohibit me from pushing directly to it. This time I didn't do that. I'm living on the edge. But anyway, I am going to push my new branch to origin. Origin, if you remember, is my fork. So when I do this, it's going to push up to my fork. And now I'm going to go create the pull request via the GitHub UI. Let me actually stay down here. So I'm going to go in here. I don't want to do anything with my v0.8.1 branch. I do want to do something with my Helm update branch. So let me drag this over here. My instructions say to put to merge up to PR to merge my new branch into master and the release branch. So let's start with master. So we're going to do my branch on my fork into master on the real one. I just did the vo.8.1 release, and the Helm chart is outdated. It still points vo.8.0 Docker image tag. How did I fix it? I've updated the values .yaml and the chart.yaml files according to this section. And it doesn't fix any PRs. I'm just going to change this to NA. And that will be it. So that's the first PR that I'm going to merge into master. Now, I'm going to do another PR into my release branch. So how do you create a PR? Well, it doesn't show up here anymore, so I need to do a new pull request. I'm going to do a compare across forks. I always love it that my username starts with an A because it's always the first in the list. Humble brag. And then Helm chart vo.8.1 into, now this time I want to go into my release branch. What have I done? This one I'm going to hold off on. I actually don't think I should be doing this. Yeah, this is actually wrong. So another mental note, I've already tagged this branch. So actually I may have done this backwards. I think I actually should have done the PR and the change in the branch, in the release branch, before I tagged it. So mental note, I'm going to make that change in the release docs. So the point of this, though, was to have both master and the release branch have the updated Helm chart in it. But since I did a fork, or since I created a new branch off of the master branch, the master branch has changed quite a bit since the release-vo.8.0 branch. And since I created vo.8.1, the vo.8.1 branch off of the vo.8.0 branch, and I'm trying to merge my branch, which came from the current master. That's why I'm getting all these commits, and it is saying there are still conflicts. Well, it doesn't say there's conflicts, but I know that there will be conflicts. So the way that I should have done this was to create or to update the Helm chart in my release branch before I created the tag, and then I would have been able to just do the pull request against master. So that's all good. I got the mental note to do that, to change that in the docs. And then we have this PR. So I'm going to let the CI/CD run. We don't have to wait for that in the stream. If you want to go back, you can check it out. GoMods Athens. It's GitHub GoMods Athens, and it's pull number 1595. So you can check it out. After these CI are done, then I'll merge it. But for now, last thing, we're going to tweet out about the new release. So I'm going to tweet out about the new release from the GoMods Twitter account, and then I'm going to go back and retweet it from my own, and then I will also publicize it in the Athens channel in the Gopher Slack. So the way that I access the GoMods Twitter account is in TweetDeck. If you haven't used TweetDeck, basically it's a nice way to keep track of all kinds of different Twitter accounts in one place without having to like log out and re-log in to other Twitter accounts from plainoldtwitter.com. So I'm going to do a tweet. And what should the tweet say? Does it have any? Here's an example. Great. Basically, I'm going to copy this, paste this, and I'll just use a little bit of creativity. Nothing like a release patch release on a Friday. This release fixes a subtle bug. Was it subtle? It's not that subtle. If you're using Sentinel, please upgrade to the new v.0.8.1. And then I'm going to link to the release, which is over here. Copy that, paste it in there. And I'm going to just do a quick sanity check to make sure this one is about the same. So this links to v0.8.0. That is the right thing, what I expected. And anything else, let's see. Little description. They hashtagged Golang and our fellow Gophers, so why not do that too? We'll just do the Gophers hashtag for now. Good enough. I think we're good. We're linking to 0.8.1, so that's cool. That's really the important thing I wanted to make sure we had. And we are tweeting from gomods.io or gomods.io. So if you're using TweetDeck, that's an important thing. Make sure you're highlighted on the right one. It'd be bad to tweet from like I'm one of the organizers of PDX Golang, the Portland Golang meetup. It'd be weird to accidentally tweet an Athens release announcement from the Portland Go Meetup Twitter account. So just make sure you are securely on the right account that you want to tweet from. And then I have my little, are you sure box, so check that. And I'm not going to add any images. I like it that the link just expands automatically to this nice thing. It's a link and an image, so I like that. I'm going to tweet it out. It's out there. And TweetDeck also has a nice thing where you can retweet from another account. So I can retweet the Athens tweet from my account. And I'm going to add a little comment. If you're using Redis Sentinel for your single flight backend in Athens, please upgrade this release. Please upgrade to this release. I like to call everyone who's in our community Athenians, just cause it's just fun. So I'm going to tweet that out again. Yeah, I'm on the AR Schless one. That's cool. Tweet. Now, last thing. Very, very last thing. I'm just going to go into the Slack. Copy this link. I'm going to go into the Athens Slack. We just finished the v0.8.1 release. This fixes an issue. This is a patch release that fixes an issue with the Redis Sentinel feature we introduced in v0.8.0. If you're using that, please upgrade. I'll paste the tweet in there and it shows up. There's the tag. That's cool. Slack expands it. I like that. That expands the tweet. So there's the tag and I think we are good. Yeah, so I'm just going back one more time since, again, I'm paranoid. That is the end of the instructions for people doing a release. So I'm really happy I went through this almost to a T because now I have a bunch of mental notes for what to update. I'll write those down in an issue, and then me or someone else can get to them probably next week. If no one else gets it next week, then I will. But yeah, keep an eye out for that issue. And if you're new to the project, the issue will have pretty much what to change in it. So it'd be a good opportunity for you to go in and just get a sense for how the docs technology works. And then obviously get a sense for how to do a pull request and go through the whole process to get something merged. So that's going to be it for me today. I hope if you were here that you enjoyed everything. Um, yeah, I hope everyone has a good weekend. I hope you stay safe. I hope you wash your hands and stay healthy. Um, and I hope that everyone is going to do great. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope to see you next time. I'm going to be streaming this coming Friday, so 7 days from today, at the same time and the same place, twitch.com/ARSCHLES. So hope to see everyone there. Take care, all.